What's going on, ladies and babies? In this video, I'm going to teach you how to sound like JOJI on Bandlab. If you are interested in just skipping the tutorial and downloading the vocal preset, you can do so by clicking the first link in the description or the pinned comment. But as always, consider subscribing for more tutorials like this, and let's get on with the video. So as you can see, I recorded quite a lot for the JOJI thing. Typically, I'll recommend for quite a few different genres, but definitely in the style of JOJI, to double track, which is what I did in the first two bars underneath the instrumental. Double tracking essentially being recording the same melody twice to add a bit more depth in your recording. But then after that, I add a couple harmonies at the very bottom just to give it a nice touch. So the first step we're going to talk about is the auto-tune. I essentially just used the classic auto-tune style in Bandlab, and I cranked it to about 60. I don't think it sounds too noticeable, but it gives it a nice corrective path just to remove some of the fluffs in your recording. The next thing I did was I added a DG compressor. I wanted a fast attack at 18 milliseconds and a release of around 222 milliseconds. The threshold really depends on how far away you are from the microphone or how high you record your vocals. For me, negative 8.5 decibels sounded like a good threshold to start compressing at, and I compressed it with about a 7:1 ratio. The next thing I added was an EQ. So before getting into the main reason I used the EQ, I also dropped the lows at about negative 6 decibels, and I cranked the highs to about 2.8 decibels. But the most important part is what we're going to do with the mids. Essentially what I did, this is a very important thing that I recommend all of you do, but what I did is I cranked the mid very high, and then while the track was playing, I went to the mid sweep and I started moving it around the frequency range. And the goal with this is to find the ugliest resonance in your vocals. So after that, I went to the mids and I dropped it to about -3, -4 decibels. This is very good because especially in the low mid sections of your voice, there is typically a lot of really ugly resonance, a lot of muddiness, which really kind of ruins the song. Then I added another compressor, this one emulating a BA2A, which is known for having a pretty slow attack but a very warm sound to whatever it's added to. So I put it at about 70 for the gain and 64 for the squeeze. Now we're on to the spatial effects, and the first thing I added was a filter echo, essentially a delay. I put it really low in the mix. I didn't want it to be too noticeable. That is kind of the thing I noticed between like amateurs and people who have been mixing for a while. Amateurs typically raise it way too high and it gets very annoying. So I only put it at about 12%, a feedback of 24%, and very importantly, I dropped the cutoff, essentially adding a high cut filter at about 4,500 hertz, which is very good because or else the really sharp high frequencies of your voice repeating again and again sound very annoying. And then I put the time at about like a quarter beat. And finally, I added a reverb, again very little. I didn't want it to fill up the mix and be very like muddy and annoying, so I only put it at 10%. And I put the type at Women's Institute. I feel like it has a bit of a lo-fi sound, which fits with a lot of JOJI's music, especially like ballads or the In Tongues EP. And once you're done, your vocals will sound like this.
You can download this preset, link in description, or the pinned comment.
Thank you so much for watching. Again, if you want to download this vocal preset, the link will be in the description or in the pinned comment. Consider subscribing for more tutorials like this. Leave a comment if you want me to tackle any other vocal tutorial, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.